What if I told you that right now, without even realizing it, someone else might be running your life? Not your boss, not your partner, not your family, but anyone who has ever made you angry, anyone who has ever ruined your day with a single word, anyone who has ever pushed your buttons and left you replaying the moment over and over in your head. Think about that. How many times have you gone to bed at night still replaying an argument, still carrying the weight of someone else's actions, still feeling the sting of something they said? And the craziest part is, they've already moved on. They're asleep. They're not even thinking about you, yet you're there, wide awake, letting them live rent-free in your mind. You see, the real danger isn't what people do to you, it's what you allow their words and actions to do inside of you. That's where the war is. That's where the real battle begins. And until you decide to take back your emotions, you will always be at the mercy of other people's moods, opinions, and actions. Imagine being unshakable. Imagine walking through life with the kind of composure that no insult, no disrespect, no manipulation could touch. Imagine what it feels like to be so in control of yourself that the world no longer has access to your peace. This isn't about pretending nothing hurts. It's not about becoming a robot. It's about mastering the art of owning your emotions so completely that no one else gets to dictate how you feel, how you react, or how you live. Because the truth is this: the moment someone can control your emotions, they control you. And I refuse to let that happen. The question is, will you? Emotions are the engine that drives every choice we make, every relationship we build, and every path we take in life. Yet most people don't realize just how powerful emotions truly are. They think logic is what controls outcomes. They think intelligence, degrees, or skills are what determine success. But in reality, it's not intelligence alone that moves mountains. It's the ability to direct your emotions, to command your inner state no matter what storms rage around you. Emotional power is your greatest asset, and the moment you learn how to harness it, your entire life begins to shift. Think about it. Every major decision you've ever made was influenced by emotion. The times you said yes when you should have said no. The times you lashed out and later regretted it. The moments you walked away when you felt disrespected. These weren't born from logic alone. They were born from a feeling inside of you that pulled the strings. And here's the truth. If you don't learn to master that feeling, someone else will. That is the danger most people live in without even noticing. When you give people the power to trigger your anger, to steal your joy, or to ruin your peace, you've given them control over the very core of your being. Emotional power is like currency, more valuable than money itself. Because money can buy comfort, but emotions decide whether you feel fulfilled. Money can buy security, but emotions decide whether you feel safe. Money can buy opportunities, but emotions decide whether you're brave enough to take them. You can be the wealthiest person in the room, but if you're constantly anxious, insecure, or reactive, you are not free. And on the other side, you can have very little in material wealth. But if you're calm, grounded, and emotionally resilient, you are richer than most people will ever be. Here's the problem. Society never teaches us this. From the time we're young, we're taught how to solve equations, how to memorize facts, how to build careers. But no one teaches us how to deal with the fire that burns inside of us. The fire of anger, fear, insecurity, or even love. And because we're not taught to control it, we hand it over to others. Someone insults you, and suddenly they own your day. Someone rejects you, and suddenly they own your self-worth. Someone cuts you off in traffic, and suddenly they own your peace. If you think about it, how much of your life has been shaped not by what you wanted, but by how you reacted to what someone else did? That's a terrifying thought, but it's also empowering, because the moment you realize it, you also realize you can change it. Owning your emotions doesn't mean suppressing them. It doesn't mean you pretend you're not hurt or that you deny when you're angry. It means you acknowledge the emotion, but you don't let it drive the car. You take the wheel back. If anger shows up, you recognize it. Yes, I'm angry, but then you choose what to do with it. If sadness comes, you don't drown in it. You witness it, You allow it, but you remind yourself, this does not own me. Emotional power is about creating a space between what happens to you and how you respond. That space, that moment of pause, is where all your strength lies. History is filled with examples of people who understood this. Leaders who stood calm while others panicked. Fighters who stayed composed when the odds were against them. Everyday men and women who endured heartbreak, betrayal, loss, yet refused to let bitterness define them. They weren't superhuman. They simply mastered the one skill most people neglect, the ability to guard their emotions like a treasure. Because that's what it is, treasure. And the more you protect it, the richer you become. The truth is, people will always test you. Life will always challenge you. Someone will always say something disrespectful, do something unfair, or try to manipulate you. You can't control that. But what you can control is how much access they get to your emotional world. You don't hand the keys of your mind to a stranger. You lock your door, you protect your home. So why do you hand the keys of your emotions to people who don't deserve them? Your emotional state should be guarded with the same vigilance. No one should have the power to decide when you're happy, when you're angry, or when you feel worthy. That power belongs to you, and you alone. Here's a question to ask yourself. How would your life change if nothing could shake you? Imagine walking into a room, and no matter who's there, no matter what's said, you remain grounded. Imagine facing criticism, and instead of reacting defensively, you stand calm and composed. Imagine being betrayed, and instead of breaking down, you rise stronger, wiser, unshaken. That is the life of someone who understands emotional power. And that's not fantasy, it's a practice. It's a muscle you build every single day. Start noticing when you give away your emotional power. The next time someone makes a rude comment, ask yourself, do I really want to give them the power to dictate my mood? The next time you feel triggered, stop and ask, am I reacting or am I choosing? Even small acts of emotional discipline create a ripple effect. Over time, you stop being controlled and you start becoming the one in control. And that, right there, is freedom. Because when you master your emotions, you master your life. You stop living at the mercy of others. You stop being a puppet to their words and actions. You reclaim your peace, your power, and your presence. Emotional power is the foundation upon which every great life is built. Lose it, and you lose yourself. Guard it, and you gain everything. Every person you meet in life will test you in some way. Some will test your patience, some will test your kindness, and some will test your strength. And often they won't even realize they're doing it. It might be a rude cashier, a disrespectful colleague, a family member who knows exactly how to push your buttons. You feel it instantly, a surge of irritation, frustration, or even rage. That's a trigger. Most people treat triggers as enemies. They see them as proof that the world is unfair or that people are out to get them. But what if I told you that your triggers are not there to destroy you, but to teach you? What if the very things that anger you, offend you, or unsettle you are actually the keys to your growth? The trigger is nothing more than a mirror reflecting back something within you that is unresolved. When someone insults you and you immediately feel worthless, the problem isn't just what they said, it's the part of you that believes it. When someone rejects you and you spiral into self-doubt, it's not their no that hurts the most, but the wound inside you that whispers, you're not good enough. The trigger exposes that wound. It's uncomfortable, it's painful, but it's also an invitation. An invitation to heal, to grow, to rise above. Here's the mistake most people make. They react. The trigger comes, and instantly they explode, defend, or shut down. They get angry at the person, they complain about the situation, they replay it 100 times in their head. In doing so, they miss the lesson. Because the lesson is never about the other person, it's about you. Why did that comment sting so badly? Why did that look of disrespect bother you so much? Why did that rejection feel like the end of the world? Every trigger asks you to look inward and uncover what still needs strengthening. Think of it like going to the gym. When you lift weights, Your muscles feel pain, they burn, they shake. That's the signal that they're working, that they're being pushed to grow. A trigger works the same way. It creates an emotional burn. A discomfort that signals there's an area in your life that still needs resilience. The difference is, most people quit the emotional workout. They don't want to feel the burn, so they avoid it, they deny it, or they blame others. But if you stick with it, if you sit with the discomfort long enough to learn from it, you grow stronger every single time. Let me give you an example. Imagine someone insults you in front of others. Your instinct is to fire back, to defend yourself, to prove them wrong. But if you pause and ask yourself, why did that comment get to me? You might discover something powerful. Maybe you realized you care too much about how others perceive you. Maybe it touched on an insecurity you've carried since childhood. Maybe it revealed that you still seek validation from people who don't deserve your energy. That one insult just became a teacher. It showed you exactly where you need to do the inner work. When you start viewing triggers as teachers, everything changes. You stop seeing the world as hostile, and you start seeing it as a training ground. Every insult is a lesson in self-respect. Every rejection is a lesson in self-worth. Every moment of disrespect is a lesson in composure. The very things that once broke you start to build you. Instead of being offended, you become curious. Instead of being reactive, you become reflective. And slowly, you start to notice something incredible. The same things that once shook you no longer have power over you. What once triggered you becomes powerless because you faced it, you learned from it, and you grew stronger. Now let's be clear. Seeing triggers as teachers doesn't mean you allow people to mistreat you. It doesn't mean you excuse disrespect or accept toxicity. What it means is that you refuse to give away your emotional control. You refuse to let someone's words or actions dictate your inner state. You take the lesson, but you don't take the poison. You learn from the situation, but you don't let it define you. That's how you transform a trigger from something that weakens you into something that strengthens you. There's also another layer to this. When you learn from your triggers, you become unpredictable. People who thrive on provoking others don't know what to do with someone who doesn't react. They lose their power because their power was never in their words, it was in your reaction. The moment you stop reacting, they stop controlling. And when you carry yourself with that kind of composure, the world begins to see you differently. You walk into a room untouchable, not because people don't try you, but because they can't move you. Think about the freedom this creates. How much lighter would life feel if nothing could easily upset you? How much energy would you save if you weren't constantly replaying arguments or obsessing over what someone said? How much stronger would you feel if every trigger became a stepping stone instead of a stumbling block? That's the transformation waiting for you when you embrace your triggers as teachers. So the next time someone pushes your buttons, pause. Don't explode. Don't shrink. Don't hand them the keys to your emotions. Instead, ask yourself, what is this moment trying to teach me? Maybe it's teaching you patience. Maybe it's teaching you boundaries. Maybe it's teaching you to finally stop caring about the opinions of people who don't matter. Whatever the lesson is, take it and grow from it. Because once you do, that trigger loses its power forever. And here's the truth. Life will never stop testing you. There will always be challenges, insults, rejections, and betrayals. But once you start seeing them as teachers instead of enemies, you'll stop being a victim of circumstance and start becoming a master of resilience. You'll realize that the world doesn't get to define you. Your response does. Your power doesn't come from avoiding triggers. It comes from learning through them. And every time you rise above, every time you choose strength over reaction, you reclaim more of yourself. That's how you build unshakable emotional strength. Not by avoiding the storms, but by letting every storm teach you how to stand taller, stronger, calmer. Your triggers are not here to break you. They are here to make you. And the moment you start learning from them, you'll never see them the same way again. There is a kind of strength that doesn't shout, doesn't slam doors, and doesn't throw fists. It's a kind of strength that sits still when others are trying to pull you into chaos. It's a kind of strength that keeps its voice steady when others are screaming for a reaction. That strength is silence. That strength is composure. And once you understand how powerful it truly is, you'll realize that silence and composure are not signs of weakness. They are unshakable weapons that make you untouchable. Most people believe that to prove their worth, they must speak louder, argue harder, or defend themselves at every turn. They believe reacting instantly is the only way to show they are strong. But in reality, the opposite is true. The person who cannot control their emotions is easy to manipulate. The person who erupts at every insult is easy to control. The person who always has to have the last word is predictable, and predictability is weakness. Composure, on the other hand, is power. When you stay calm in the face of disrespect, you deny others the control they seek over you. When you remain silent in the face of provocation, you confuse those who expect to feed on your reaction. Think about the last time someone provoked you. Maybe it was a rude comment, a sarcastic remark, or a blatant act of disrespect. Your instinct was probably to defend yourself, to fire back, to prove them wrong, and maybe you did. But afterward, how did you feel? Did it bring peace? Or did it leave you replaying the argument in your head, restless and unsettled? Silence, in that moment, would not have been weakness. It would have been wisdom, because silence doesn't mean agreement. It means you refuse to waste your energy where it doesn't belong. Composure is even more than silence. Composure is the ability to remain steady while storms swirl around you. It is the discipline to stay calm under pressure, to keep your focus when others lose theirs, to maintain your dignity when others throw theirs away. Composure sends a message without you saying a single word: I cannot be moved. And that message is more powerful than any argument. There is a reason why silence unnerves people. A person who yells is telling you exactly where they stand. A person who argues reveals their insecurities. But a person who remains calm, who does not give you the reaction you seek, that person is a mystery, and mystery is power. When people can't predict you, they can't control you. When people can't rattle you, they can't own you. Silence becomes your shield, composure becomes your armor, and suddenly you are playing the game from a higher level. History is filled with moments where composure changed the outcome of everything. Leaders who faced insults and threats, but responded with calm dignity, commanded more respect than those who erupted in anger. Warriors who stood silently before battle, unshaken by their enemies' taunts, struck fear without lifting a weapon. Even in everyday life, the person who keeps their cool in a heated argument always comes out looking stronger, wiser, and more in control. This doesn't mean silence is always passive. Sometimes silence is the loudest statement you can make. Choosing not to respond is choosing not to hand your power away. Refusing to argue when someone disrespects you is not surrender. It's strategy. You're not saying, I can't fight. You're saying, you're not worth my fight. That distinction changes everything. Because not every battle deserves your voice, and not every insult deserves your attention. Composure also protects your peace. When you lash out in anger, your heart races, your body tenses, your mind spirals. You hand over hours of your life to a single moment of reaction. But when you remain composed, you conserve that energy. You keep your body calm, your mind sharp, your spirit light. That conservation of energy is what allows you to keep moving forward, to focus on what actually matters instead of being stuck in pointless battles. But let's be clear, silence and composure are not about swallowing your feelings or letting people walk all over you. They are about choosing the right time and the right place to speak, and doing so from a place of strength rather than reaction. It's about deciding when your words will carry impact instead of letting them be wasted in the noise. Silence is restraint, not weakness. Composure is control, not passivity. They are tools that keep you from being dragged into wars that don't deserve your presence. Imagine for a moment how your life would change if you mastered silence and composure. Imagine someone insulting you in front of others, and instead of firing back, You remain calm, your expression unshaken. Imagine the confusion on their face when they realize they can't touch you. Imagine the respect others feel when they see that you're not easily rattled. Imagine the peace you carry within, because you no longer waste your energy on pointless reactions. That's what happens when silence becomes your strategy and composure becomes your strength. The truth is, people who try to provoke you are often searching for control. They want to know they can get to you, that they can pull you into their chaos. When you refuse to react, you deny them that satisfaction. You take back the control, and in doing so, you rise above. Your silence speaks louder than their noise. Your composure speaks louder than their chaos. And your strength becomes undeniable, because it cannot be touched. Life will always present moments that test your composure. People will lie, insult, disrespect, and betray. But how you respond is always your choice. You can take the bait and let them own your emotions. Or you can choose silence and composure and remind yourself, I am not controlled. Every time you choose the latter, you grow stronger. Every time you remain calm, you send a message, not just to others, but to yourself. You are the one in control. That is the essence of unshakable strength. Not the loudest voice, not the quickest comeback, but the quiet, steady power of someone who cannot be broken by the noise around them. Silence and composure will not only protect you, they will transform you. They will turn you into someone who is respected, someone who is admired, and most importantly, someone who is free. Because once you master them, you no longer live at the mercy of others. You live on your own terms, untouchable, unshaken, unmovable. Respect is one of the most misunderstood concepts in life. Most people spend their days chasing respect from others. They want recognition, validation, admiration. They want people to treat them well, speak to them kindly, and honor their worth. But here's the hard truth. If you don't respect yourself first, no amount of respect from others will ever be enough. And if you fail to set the standard for how you should be treated, the world will gladly decide for you. That is why respect has to start with you. Respect is not just about demanding it from others. It's about the way you carry yourself, the way you treat yourself, and the boundaries you set for your life. If you let people walk all over you, you're teaching them that it's acceptable. If you explode every time you're disrespected, you're teaching them that you're easily controlled. If you constantly sacrifice your own peace just to please others, you're teaching them that your needs don't matter. And once that pattern is established, it becomes harder and harder to break. Self-respect is about creating a standard so high within yourself that no one dares to treat you with less. But here's the paradox. Respect doesn't begin with how others treat you. It begins with the quiet decisions you make when no one is watching. Do you honor your commitments to yourself? Or do you break promises the moment things get difficult? Do you value your time and energy, or do you give them away freely to people who don't deserve them? Do you allow your emotions to be tossed around by every word, every glance, every opinion, or do you stand rooted in your own worth? Every choice you make is either strengthening or weakening the respect you hold for yourself. And people can see it. They may not always articulate it, but they can feel it. They sense when someone values themselves deeply. They sense when someone has boundaries that cannot be crossed. They sense when someone has standards that cannot be lowered. Self-respect is magnetic. When you carry it, others are drawn to it. Not everyone will like you, but they will recognize that you stand for something. And the truth is, people treat you based on the energy you project. If you project weakness, they will test you. If you project desperation, they will take advantage. But if you project self-respect, calm, steady, unshakable, they will know instinctively that you are not someone to be played with. This doesn't mean arrogance. It doesn't mean you walk into a room believing you're better than everyone else. Real respect is quiet confidence. It's the ability to sit in your own presence and feel whole without needing validation from anyone else. It's walking away from situations that don't honor you without explanation, without anger, just clarity. It's not about proving your worth. It's about knowing your worth so deeply that you don't waste time proving it at all. The reason most people struggle with respect is because they confuse it with acceptance. They think if people like me, they'll respect me. But that's not how it works. Some of the most respected individuals in history were not liked by everyone. In fact, many were disliked by most. Respect doesn't come from pleasing people. It comes from standing firm in your values, even if it makes others uncomfortable. When you chase approval, you lose respect. When you honor yourself, even if it costs you relationships, you gain respect, first from yourself, and eventually from others. Think of the times when you lowered your standards for someone else. Maybe you allowed them to speak to you in ways they shouldn't have. Maybe you tolerated behaviors that hurt you because you were afraid of losing them. Maybe you stayed silent when you should have spoken up. How did you feel afterward? Likely weaker, smaller, resentful, not just toward them, but toward yourself. That's the sting of self-betrayal. And once you betray yourself, it's hard to demand respect from anyone else. Now think about the times you stood firm. The times you said no, even when it was uncomfortable. The times you walked away, even when it was painful. The times you kept your composure, even when others tried to pull you into chaos. How did you feel then? Likely stronger, freer, more grounded. That's the reward of self-respect. And the more you practice it, the more natural it becomes. Respect also comes from consistency. It's not enough to demand respect once in a while. You must live it daily. You can't value yourself today and abandon yourself tomorrow. You can't set high standards in one area of your life, but accept disrespect in another. Respect is holistic. It touches every part of your being. It's in how you speak to yourself, how you take care of your body, how you manage your time, how you choose your relationship. When you are consistent in valuing yourself, others quickly realize there is no room to treat you with anything less. Of course, choosing respect for yourself won't always make life easy. Sometimes it will mean losing people. Sometimes it will mean walking away from situations that once felt comfortable. Sometimes it will mean being misunderstood or criticized. But here's the truth. Losing others is far less costly than losing yourself. When you sacrifice self-respect for the sake of keeping peace with others, you create a war within, and that war will always cost more than any external conflict. When you truly respect yourself, your life transforms, your boundaries become clear, your standards become unshakable, and your emotions become harder to manipulate. You no longer fall apart at rejection because you know your worth is not up for debate. You no longer chase approval because you are not starving for validation. You no longer tolerate what drains you because you value your peace too much to hand it away. And slowly the world begins to treat you differently, not because you forced it to, but because you taught it how. So remember this, respect will never come from begging, from pleasing, or from fighting for it on the outside. It begins inside of you. It begins with the choices you make when no one is watching. It begins with the standards you refuse to lower. It begins with the way you honor yourself every single day. Because once you redefine respect, once you make it clear that it starts with you, everything around you changes. People will rise to meet the standard you set, or they will fall away. Either way, you win. Because respect is not about what others give you. It's about what you refuse to take away from yourself. Freedom is one of the most sought after things in the world. People fight wars for it, sacrifice everything for it, and dream their whole lives of experiencing it. But here's the part most people miss. The greatest freedom you can ever achieve is not physical, financial, or even social. It's emotional. Because until you are free emotionally, every other kind of freedom will feel limited. You can have all the money in the world, but if someone's opinion still dictates your happiness, you're not free. You can live in the safest country, but if anger or insecurity still controls you, you're not free. Emotional freedom is the foundation upon which every transformation is built, and once you claim it, nothing in the external world will ever hold you hostage again. Emotional freedom means you no longer give other people the keys to your inner world. It means you stop letting their moods, their judgments, their actions decide how you feel. It means that instead of reacting to everything around you, you choose how to respond. That shift alone changes everything. Because when you live in reaction, you're chained to the behavior of others. When they're kind, you feel good. When they're cruel, you feel broken. When they approve of you, you're confident. When they reject you, you collapse. That isn't living. That's being controlled like a puppet on strings. True living begins the moment you cut those strings and decide, I will not be owned by anyone's actions but my own. The power of emotional freedom is that it opens the door to transformation in every area of your life. Think about relationships. How many people stay trapped in toxic dynamics because they're afraid of being alone, afraid of rejection, or afraid of disapproval? Emotional captivity keeps them stuck. But when you're free, you can walk away without fear. You can love deeply without losing yourself. You can set boundaries without guilt. Emotional freedom transforms the way you connect. Because you no longer approach relationships from a place of need. You approach them from a place of wholeness. Now consider your ambitions. How many dreams have been abandoned because of the fear of failure? Or because of what others might think? Emotional captivity tells you don't try, you'll embarrass yourself. Don't risk it. It's safer to stay small, and so people shrink, year after year, letting fear dictate their choices. But when you're free, emotionally, failure doesn't define you. Rejection doesn't paralyze you. Fear doesn't stop you. You see setbacks as part of the process, not proof that you're unworthy. Emotional freedom gives you the courage to step out, to take risks, to chase the life you want without being shackled by the opinions of others. That courage becomes transformation because suddenly the impossible starts to look possible. Emotional freedom also changes how you experience peace. When you're bound by reaction, peace is always temporary. It exists only when everything is going well. But when you're emotionally free, peace becomes permanent. It's not dependent on circumstances. It's not stolen by someone's rude comment or destroyed by a bad day. It lives inside you, steady and unshaken, because you've built it on the foundation of self-control. And that inner peace radiates outward, changing how you show up in the world. You stop carrying anger into every room. You stop projecting insecurity onto others. You stop being consumed by battles that don't matter. Your energy shifts. Your presence changes, and the world responds in kind. But here's the thing. Emotional freedom is not something that just happens to you. It's something you choose every single day. It's a discipline, a practice. It's in the moment when someone disrespects you, and you choose silence instead of reaction. It's in the moment when fear whispers in your ear, and you step forward anyway. It's in the moment when you're tempted to let someone's opinion define your worth, and you remind yourself that their voice does not outweigh your truth. Every one of those small decisions is a brick in the foundation of your freedom, and the more bricks you lay, the stronger it becomes. Transformation begins here, because once you are free emotionally, you see life through a different lens. You stop wasting energy trying to control what can't be controlled. You stop handing over your peace to people who don't deserve it. You stop shrinking yourself to fit into boxes built by others. You start living on your own terms. And that shift is transformational because it changes not just what you do, but who you are. Think of a person who is emotionally free. They walk into a room and don't need to prove anything. They don't crumble under criticism and they don't inflate with praise. They're steady, grounded, whole. People are drawn to them, not because they're loud or attention-seeking, but because they carry a presence that says, I am enough as I am. That is the essence of transformation. It's not about becoming someone else. It's about stripping away everything that once controlled you so you can finally become who you were always meant to be. And here's the most beautiful part. Emotional freedom doesn't just transform you, it transforms everyone around you. When you stop reacting, others start respecting. When you stop being controlled, others stop trying. When you carry peace, you invite others into it. You become the calm in the storm, the steady hand in chaos, the reminder that there is another way to live. And that influence is powerful. Because transformation doesn't just happen inside of you. It ripples outward, touching lives you don't even realize you're impacting. So ask yourself, who really controls your emotions right now? Is it you, or is it whoever last insulted you? Whoever last rejected you? Whoever last doubted you? If it's not you, then it's time to take them back. It's time to cut the strings, reclaim the keys, and decide once and for all that no one gets to own your inner world but you. That decision, though small in words, is massive in impact. Because from it comes the greatest transformation you'll ever know. The freedom to live, love, and create. Without fear, without chains, without limit. Emotional freedom is not a luxury. It's a necessity. Without it, you'll always be trapped in cycles of reaction. Always giving away pieces of yourself to people who didn't earn them. With it, you become whole, powerful, unstoppable. That is the freedom that truly transforms. That is the freedom that changes everything. And it begins the moment you decide that your emotions are yours and no one else's. Forever. At the end of the day, everything comes down to one choice. Will you live as a prisoner to other people's actions, or will you live free? You have walked through the truth that your emotions are your greatest asset, that your triggers are not masters, but teachers, that silence and composure give you unshakable strength, that respect begins with you, and that emotional freedom is the gateway to transformation. Each of these truths points to one powerful reality. You are the only one who should ever sit in the driver's seat of your emotions. Understand this. People will always talk. They will always test you. They will always try to push you into giving them power. But power is not taken. It is given. And from this moment on, you must decide that you will no longer hand it over. You will no longer let someone's disrespect define you. You will no longer let someone's anger infect you. You will no longer let someone's fear control you. You are stronger than that. You are wiser than that. You are freer than that. This is not about suppressing who you are. It's about mastering who you are. It's about rising above the noise, standing steady in chaos, and refusing to let anyone decide how you feel. Because when you own your emotions, you own your life. You stop reacting and start leading. You stop shrinking and start expanding. You stop living small and start living free. So I challenge you, make this the day you take back your power. Make this the moment you cut the strings. Make this the turning point where you stop being controlled and start being in control. Emotional freedom isn't just a mindset. It's a revolution within you. And once it begins, nothing and no one can stop the transformation that follows. Stand tall, stay grounded, protect your peace, and never ever let anyone control your emotions again.